welcome to my channel. I don't know if you saw, for those of you who didn't see my last video talking about sending in your quarantine videos, I just want to remind you, I'm going to remind you on every video, just in case you guys forget, just to turn on your, hit that record button and record something about your life, your quarantine life, something that you're doing different now. You know, something that's specific to you being quarantined. Something you're doing to pass time, something, it could be fun, it could be, I don't know, anything. Get creative. Or like I said, it could be when you go out, just stuff that may be different on the streets or in the stores. Something that you just notice different. Even products at the stores that could be different than what they normally are. Or like signs, or just rules at the stores, or anything. Just, I mean, you can even take pictures. Well, I prefer a video, but pictures would work too. But maybe just do a quick video. I mean, I guess pictures could be alright too. I just think a video would be more, you know, if you, instead of just taking a picture of something, you could just hit record, do a video, but then just maybe make a little comment about whatever that you're showing or something. I don't know. But like I said, I came up with by the end of my last video, I was thinking of how I wanted to do something again. I know I just did a giveaway for my 20,000 subscribers giveaway, but just because of everything that's going on and everybody's struggling, I just was thinking, man, I want to do something for you guys again, like a giveaway or something. So basically, I was, as I was talking about it at the end of my last video, I came up with the idea of anybody that sends me a video in will be entered into the drawing, and then somehow we'll pick the winner. I could pick like maybe first, second, and third place. Either I could do a random pick, but I kind of like the idea of maybe somehow picking where you guys judge on who you like the best, or the winner somehow. I don't know. I haven't came up with the idea of exactly how to judge it. I don't personally want to be the one to pick the winner, just because I know I'm going to like them all, and I'm so indecisive, and I know I'll have trouble picking my favorite. So either I could ask maybe some of my family members to judge, but like I said, I kind of like the idea of you guys judging somehow. So after I get a compilation video together, maybe I'll come up with the specifics. So I know I guess I could just have you guys comment under the video your favorites, and then somehow I'll just keep the score that way. I'll keep a tally of, and give you a point per each person that picks your video or something. I don't know if that'll be doable, or if there's just going to be hard to, I don't know if that's the best idea on how to judge, or I guess that'd be the only way to have you guys judge it, right? Yeah, I guess that, give me ideas on how I could have you guys somehow be the judges of the winners. Or should I pick like a group of you guys to be the judges? I don't know. Give me your ideas under this video on how I could somehow involve you guys in picking the winners. If it would be, I don't know if it'd be easier to have you guys comment your favorite and then just try to like tally them up, or if that would just be too much to try to do. I don't know. But yeah, give me your ideas, guys. You guys are sometimes have better ideas or more creative than me. So okay, so let's get into this video. Today I thought I would go through the police reports of everybody's different accounts of what happened that day that Charles was shot, and kind of compare what Alex originally said when the cops came and then they were questioning him what happened. So kind of what he originally said, how everything happened, and compare it to when they went to the police station and made the report, or basically gave their narrative, like Tylee and Lori kind of said how it all went down, and kind of compare how they said it went down to Alex's first narrative, basically his first, how he first explained how it all went down, and to see how, if things were different, because you would think that the first account of it would probably be like right after it happened, when Alex told the cops how it happened right after it happened. You think that would probably be the most accurate, because it was just right after, so the memory would be fresh and he wouldn't have time to sit there and try to add too many lies. I mean, I think he did lie about some stuff, but I'm saying, I guess what I'm trying to say, because I think it was bullcrap. I think it was planned, and I don't believe their story at all. But I guess what I'm saying is that if it was really true on what they said, and it wasn't pre-planned, then wouldn't the first account, like if they were actually trying to tell the truth, usually the first account of them right after it happened should be kind of the most accurate, because it wouldn't give, you know, sometimes even when you're not trying to lie, you're trying to remember let's say you're trying to be honest about a story, the more time you have to sit with it, the more your mind kind of fills in things where it might be exaggerated, or you add things as time goes by that just aren't accurate, that maybe it's not exactly how it happened. And it's not that you do it on purpose, but your mind sometimes just does that, where I think it gets, you know, just from all your other experiences, somehow it makes it, as the years pass, your memories of things kind of change. I'm not saying like the main things, the main points, you know, probably stay the same, but little details might change a little bit as time passes. As you experience new things, it could alter some of your memories in little ways, you know, just little details. So I'm saying that first account of what Alex was saying, if he was being honest and it wasn't this planned thing, then it should be kind of the most accurate without little details being off. So then, but like I said, I think it was planned. That was the plan. Like, it was no self-defense or anything like that. But I just thought it'd be interesting to compare everybody's accounts with what he originally said. So now that I've rambled for 5 minutes about what I'm going to talk about, so basically what he said when he first came out and the cop was asking him, hey, what went on? He said that Charles came at him. Well, Charles was going over there to pick up JJ to take him to school. And basically they got into an altercation. Charles and Lori kind of got into it. They were arguing or whatever. And he says, at first he says that Charles came at him with a bat. And then that Lori left. So after Lori left to take JJ to school, that Charles and him got into it. Alex and Charles basically got into it and started arguing again. So it was like, he was saying how like Lori and Charles kind of were getting into it, having a little altercation, and then Lori went to take JJ to school with Tylee, and then Alex, he said they were kind of talking for a little, you know, they started talking or whatever, like it was like, almost like, okay, they left, and they were like, oh, you know, fine for a minute, and then they got into it again. And then he starts to say how, because then the cop starts asking questions, so then he says, yeah, there was a scuffle earlier with Lori and Charles and Tylee, and it's almost like it's confusing if there was one bat or two bats, because it was like, he says how Charles picked up the bat.
He picked up the bat.
Where was the bat at?
In the living room.
Okay.
Okay, and then he says that Tylee came out of her bedroom with a bat, and she poked at him, and then he took the bat away from Tylee, and then Alex said he had to separate them. But it was almost like he was saying that Charles had a bat before that he picked up somewhere. But then he explains how Tylee had a bat that she took out of her, like she came out with in her room. He was kind of implying that she heard the arguing and kind of got scared and brought out a bat and was like holding it up, and then kind of poked it at Charles, and then Charles took the bat, and then Alex says how he separates them, and then Lori leaves with Tylee and JJ, right? And then he says Charles still has the bat in his hand, right? Then he says Charles comes at Alex and hits him in the back of the head with a bat, okay? So Alex goes and gets his gun, goes back out in the living room, and Charles still has the bat in his hand. And Alex says, you know, what's your problem? Put the bat down. And Alex says that Charles came at him again with a bat, and then that's when Alex shoots him. So after Alex says after he shoots him, he goes back in, puts the gun back in the room, he cleans his head up a little bit, and then calls the cops. So, I mean, I just have some problems with this story, and you'll see as you read the other accounts that the police take from Lori and Tylee. I mean, there's certain things that just aren't matching up. Just little, I know they may seem like little details, but they are kind of important. Like, for instance, was Lori in there when he shot Charles?
Some type of domestic?
Yeah, just this morning, then they left, and then he came at me.
They left meaning who? Both of parties?
Yeah, my sister took my niece and my nephew.
Okay, so they left.
To create some space from him, and then he came at me.
Okay, but did he leave also?
No.
He stayed here?
He stayed.
Because Alex's first account makes it seem like Lori's already gone. But you'll see other accounts where it's just like confusing. It seems like maybe Lori, one account seems like Lori was in there when it happened and seen it. I don't know. Let me read you the other accounts because it's just, well, we know why they don't add up because they're lies. This is obviously, it wasn't self-defense. I don't believe this for one bit. And maybe in their plan they instigated him. Like their plan was that they wanted to shoot Charles. That was their plan. This is just one of my theories, one of my opinions. They planned on shooting him. They wanted to do that. So when Charles came, they kind of instigated it, you know? So not only, because Tylee and JJ was there. JJ was supposedly out in the car, but Tylee was there, at least for the first part of the argument. Now, whether she was there when he got shot, I don't know. But, so, for her to witness, they probably wanted it to seem like Charles was getting out of hand, you know, so they probably instigated him and try to push him to get mad. So this is just my guess, where they kind of came after him, where they were instigating him and try to get him upset. So it looked like he was the one getting all crazy. So that when Tylee looked at the situation, it looked like, oh, well, maybe it wasn't self-defense. Maybe Charles did get crazy after I left. Now, this is just my opinion, but so I think Charles came over and they just instigated him. They knew what buttons to push to get him going. Because Lori would know. She was married to him for a while, a long time, years. So she would know what buttons to push to get him all fired up. So I think there was a plan. I really do think they planned it all out. So, but okay, so I'm going to read you the different accounts, and you'll see how there's certain things that just don't add up. Now, was Lori there when he was shot, or wasn't she? Was she already gone or not? How much did Tylee see? Like I said, Alex, his first account makes it seem like Lori was already gone on the road when it happened. Then there's an account where she saw it, she witnessed it. And then there's an account where she heard the noise outside and, I don't know, okay, I'm going to read it now. But I do want to bring up real quick, it's another reason, another motive why they maybe had to get rid of Tylee, because maybe, you know, she witnessed it and maybe they were afraid that she was going to talk. I mean, she was going to basically say what went down. Maybe she knew more than they wanted her to know. And maybe she was having a guilty conscience and was like, I got to tell the cops. Maybe she's threatened, like, I have to tell them because, you know, that it wasn't self-defense or what happened that day. But I really do think, though, that they made it look like that Charles went crazy. Even to Tylee, I feel like I said, they pushed his buttons, got him all fired up. So when they left, Tylee, whatever they told Tylee, like about whatever Alex told Tylee, how Charles got, you know, how it was self-defense, where Tylee would have believed it, you know, where she was probably like, oh, okay, well, maybe he did get crazy and Alex did shoot him in self-defense. The more I think about it, but I know because what Randy brought up where he thinks that was one of the reasons because Tylee was just going to maybe talk to the cops about what happened that day with Charles. I'm sure that Tylee did know, though, a lot of details about her mom's life that could have maybe got her in trouble, you know? So I don't know whether she knew what really happened, that they planned it. Did she know more? Was she threatening to say something? Or originally I thought, yeah, man, that's probably one of the reasons, but now I don't know. I mean, there's probably a bunch of different reasons altogether, but I think it had a lot to do with money too, and their crazy thoughts. Maybe they really were thinking that this whole zombie thing, maybe they really were like delusional and thinking that they were zombies and all these crazy thoughts. And that maybe that really was their main reason that they had to get rid of them. I don't know. Then I'm thinking maybe money, because I heard that Tylee, when she turned 18, she was going to get half of that insurance, that life insurance policy from her dad dying. I don't know if that's true or not. I haven't confirmed it, but somebody said that they heard that it was $1 million, and Lori got it, but then when Tylee turned 18, she was supposed to get half of it. So it could also be for greed, because she didn't want Tylee to get that money. And maybe Tylee did know a little bit too much, more than Lori felt comfortable with. Maybe she was starting to suspect that Charles's death there was something fishy about it. And I don't know why, I do believe that Lori was kind of delusional in the sense that where she did believe that some of these people were zombies and they had to go. I believe that she is kind of delusional, and that her beliefs are that strong that she might really believe that. What do you guys think? What do you think the reason that if she did do something to the kids? I mean, we know the husbands, I feel like it was all money related. But then she did claim that about Charles being somebody that he wasn't too, Joe Snyder or whatever, I forget the name, but that he was basically a zombie too. But I guess, no, I don't know, because I guess I believe that was more for the money. Maybe it was a combination. Maybe she's just saying the whole zombie thing because that looks better as far as her morals than it would look that if people knew it was just for the money. So maybe it is just all greed. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think that she really believes this whole zombie thing, or she's just using it as an excuse for doing these horrible things? I'd like to get your thoughts on it. Okay, so let me read you the police reports or the narratives of what they said after this happened, their story on how it all happened. So this is the one with Lori. It says, the interview with Lori began at approximately 9:43 hours after Lori had used the restroom. I obtained some personal information from Lori initially and confirmed that Lori lived at the residence where the incident occurred. I asked Lori to tell me what happened, starting at what worked for her, and I would probably ask questions. Lori stated she had moved into this house 3 weeks ago because he, the deceased, had offered to get the house here where her family was and indicated they had been in Houston. Lori advised they had decided to separate, and her husband had said he would get a house for her and I think it was probably JJ. Lori stated the deceased was all about JJ, I think. It's blacked out, so I'm thinking it's probably JJ. But it was never about Tylee, I'm sure. So I'm thinking she was saying like it's all about JJ, but it was never about Tylee. Lori advised they had adopted JJ together, and JJ was actually her husband's great-nephew and had been a drug baby. Lori advised that her husband travels all the time for business, and he is always back and forth. Lori said her husband came the first time when she first moved from Houston and brought her some things, and he hadn't been back, but it's all these threats. Lori mentioned it was on her phone all the time, and I asked about the threats. Lori said I would have to see them, but he was always mad at her. Lori said he didn't want a divorce, but she didn't like him and didn't want to deal with him. Lori said they had been married for 14 years and she has dealt with it for 14 years. And he has always been horrible to her. Pointing to the room where Tylee was. Oh, so she's saying that Charles has always been horrible to Tylee. This is what Lori saying. Lori said he was always getting into huge fights with Tylee, and it was a lot of things. Lori said he told her all of a sudden that he was coming Wednesday night and he wanted to see JJ. Lori indicated that she told him that she would never keep JJ from him, that he could come see JJ whenever he wanted, take him to school, whatever. I asked about when she had initially left and that he said he was going to buy her a house, and Lori corrected me that he said he was going to rent her a house, and she indicated all her family is here. Lori advised they lived here for a long time and then he moved them to Houston. Lori advised they were there with their son and their son didn't have anything. Didn't have his school or services or anything. Lori indicated her husband ripped their son out of school and said they were moving, and Lori advised she didn't go with them at first. Lori said Charles took their son and Lori let him take their son and she didn't file anything. Lori then advised that he, Charles, filed something and told Lori that she was only going to get supervised visits because she was crazy. I don't blame him. I mean, she was talking crazy towards like the last year. I mean, do you blame him? I mean, I think he was a much better father to JJ than she was a mother, definitely. Like I mean, I know I don't know them personally, but just from all the information we have, it seems like he actually really loved JJ, and she could care less about him. He actually like cared about him and loved him like his own son, and she could care less about him. That's the impression I'm getting, and just from all the information, it seems like he actually really did care. He was a good dad, it seemed like. Lori says she just didn't talk to him for like 30 days and let him take care of their son. To let her husband see what she has been doing for the last 7 years. Yeah, it's called being a mother. And being a mother with a son, he's autistic, so there's certain necessities and certain struggles, you know. Yeah, he was autistic, and there were certain things that she would have to sacrifice and give him extra care and be extra patient, but it's called being a mother. I mean, if you wanted, you took on that job. You adopted him. You committed to being his mom. So you can't sit there and be like, oh, look, I've been doing the last 7 years. Well, then you shouldn't have agreed to adopt him if it's like he's a burden. Like, there's many parents that would love to have a kid, would love to have JJ and take care of him. So why not, if you didn't want him, if you act like he's a burden, then let someone that would love him and not look at him like a burden and want to be his mom and love him like their own son. Like, why not let his biological grandparents, the Woodcocks, take care of him then? I mean, I don't understand. You can't sit there and adopt him and then say, oh my God, look what I've been dealing with the last 7 years. That's your responsibility. You agreed. Lori mentioned that she has other kids and has grandkids. Lori seemed annoyed that he had threatened she would only have supervised visits of her child and mentioned that she left him to take care of the child for 30 days to see what it was like, and she knew he would be begging her to pick him up, which she stated he did. So if you have such an issue, like, oh my God, look what it's like to take care of him, then why would you care that Charles wants custody and wants to take care of him? If it's that much of a burden, then let somebody that loves him and wants to be there and not look at it like a burden, but do it because he's doing it because he loves him, let him then. Why not? I mean, I don't understand it. It seems like you're only doing it to, it's not, you obviously don't want to take care of him, but you just want to be difficult, I feel like. So it's not like you're arguing because it's like you want to be JJ's mother and you want to take care of him. The only reason I feel like you're putting up a fight about this is because you just want to be a hassle for Charles. You just want to be difficult for Charles to make him suffer, to make Charles suffer, to basically to just be difficult, just to be a jerk. It's obviously not because you want custody of JJ. It's obvious that he's a burden to you. The way, I mean, I don't even barely know you, but just the statements you make, the few statements that we have access to, the public, we can all see that it's like you act like he's a burden. So why fight Charles on it? Just to be a jerk. Lori stated he asked her to come back, so Lori moved with them to Houston for the family. Lori said Tylee went with her and they left everything to go to Houston. Lori talked about the problems with getting services for their son and talked about how her husband didn't do anything. From what we all hear, he's the one that did everything. You didn't do anything. Lori indicated her husband hadn't been here in a couple weeks since her moving, and he had been busy, and plus he's the one bringing in the money, supporting you so you could go buy all your fancy things and go rob him and use his bank account and use all his money. So he had to go to work. So yeah, he was gone a lot because he was making money to support you and your kids. So Lori indicated her husband hadn't been here in a couple weeks since her moving, and he had been nasty when he was there. Lori advised he travels for work and that he had got back to the Houston house. Lori stated he contacted her and said he was coming Wednesday night and said he was going to pick JJ up and take him to school Thursday, and then pick him up Thursday and take him Friday. Lori appeared fine with that, but stated she told him that he couldn't come stay at the house because he couldn't get along with Tylee. Lori stated that Tylee is a minor and she lives there, and that he gets in fights with Tylee and Tylee hates him. Lori told him that he couldn't stay at the house, and she said she would book him a hotel. Lori advised he stays in hotels all the time when he travels for work, and the business pays for it, so Lori told him that she would book him a hotel nearby. We talked briefly about what he does for a living and where he travels, mentioning that they had lived in Hawaii. Lori stated his job gives him freedom, so he doesn't have to stay home every day and take care of a special needs child. But I'm sure you don't complain about the money, that he's supporting you, and that you're stealing and using his bank cards and robbing him and taking his car, hiding his truck, canceling his flight. Anyway, Lori indicated she does that, mentioning that she was a single mom before they got married. There's that single mom thing again. She wasn't a single mom that long, because I swear, I gotta look at the dates, but I swear she got married like the same year she got a divorce from Joseph Ryan. If it wasn't the same year, it was just the year right after, but I almost think it was the same year. I gotta look at the dates, but so what? She was a single mom for like a month? I mean, Lori stated she has 2 kids and he had 2 kids, and they got married and tried to make a family. Lori indicated her husband had told her that he was coming last night, and Lori told him that he couldn't stay at the house and she would get him a hotel. Lori stated that JJ does go to school all day, and she talked about how she is getting his services back. Lori talked about how JJ has been a nightmare because her husband ripped JJ out of his routine and mentioned that he only thinks of himself. Wait, who thinks of himself? Who thinks of herself? Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? He's the one getting him the dog, paying for the service dog and paying for everything, and she is so selfish. Oh my gosh. Talking about how he only thinks of himself. She is the most selfish person that, wow, she's just very stuck up little selfish person. Like, how could she even call somebody else selfish, or say somebody else only thinks of himself? Lori described how JJ freaks out when he finds out Dad is coming because he associates when Dad took him to Houston. So Lori didn't tell JJ that he was coming. Lori stated he didn't bother her last night, which she was kind of surprised about because she was expecting kind of an ambush, that he would just come over and be just mean. Lori was expecting him to say that it was his house and he was on a lease so he could stay here kind of thing. Lori said that is his macho kind of attitude. But you say he didn't give you any trouble that night, so why shoot him the next day? Lori stated he came this morning and she was getting ready. I confirmed that he came last night and she indicated yes, but she didn't hear from him except that he texted her to say he would be there at 7:30 to pick up JJ. Lori said okay and that it was good because she didn't hear from him. Lori said he came over in the morning and he was banging on the door. Lori said, here we go. So she was just trying to be nice and had JJ's stuff ready for school. I asked what time he got there, and Lori stated he had said he would be there at 7:30, but it was more like 7:40, 7:35-ish, but she wasn't sure. Lori remembers looking at the clock at 7:30 and indicated he is usually very punctual. Lori said JJ acknowledged Dad and then ran to her and stated he wasn't taking him to school. Lori was telling JJ that it was okay and Daddy could drive him to school, and she was just trying to make things calm. Lori said her husband was just being real smirky and real jerky to her, so Lori was ignoring. I asked if Lori's brother lives there with them, and Lori advised no. Lori said her brother had stayed there last night because Lori was worried about her husband would come over and cause trouble with her. Yeah, right, he stayed there last night because you were planning on this plan to kill him, so you wanted him there in the morning, and probably last night to get things all planned out. Lori said she just wanted someone else there, wanted her brother there. Lori said she trusts her brother. Lori advised it was a long story, but she had to go live at her brother's when her husband took JJ, and that he has been difficult. Lori said she was getting JJ's stuff ready, and he was saying he was leaving in 20 minutes, mentioning it was 15 minutes to the school. Lori mentioned that you can't get there early because they don't open the gates until about 8:20 or something. Lori suggested to him that they go now because she didn't want him in the house, so they could go to Burger King and get breakfast. Lori advised that JJ is very particular about food and he wants chicken fries and a Sprite for breakfast. Wow, that's a healthy breakfast. Some fried chicken fries and pop. Lori told her husband to go and he agreed, so Lori gave him the backpack and they got in the car. Lori stated her husband always leaves something in the house, that he always comes back and he never leaves the first time, and she is always expecting her husband to come back in the house. Lori advised he had left his phone on the counter. I asked that he had initially left with JJ, and Lori confirmed that he had put JJ and the backpack in the car in the driveway and then had come back in. Lori said she kissed JJ goodbye and her husband came back in. Lori said his phone was on the counter and then Lori had his phone. He told Lori to give him his phone and she told him, why don't you show me your text that you've been texting? Lori said he's been acting really weird, like he's been plotting something. Who's been plotting something? You and Alex have been plotting his death. And why should he? If you guys are separated, why does he have to show you his text? I guarantee you if he asked to see your text, you wouldn't show him. I mean, why, if you guys are separated, why does he owe you anything? He doesn't need to tell you anything or anywhere or show you any text or who he's with. He can go do whatever he wants. Lori questions as to why he was here, why he was in town, and then brought up that he's been talking to her other brother who came into town at the same time. Lori advised she hasn't talked to her other brother Adam in a long time, and her husband was texting him, and she was questioning as to why they talk and if they talk. Lori said her husband has been saying all these texts like you're going down and such, and that he is blaming her for their marriage breaking up and other marriages around them, calling her a destroyer of families. Lori stated he goes nuts and then indicated that he's gone nuts before and that she and Tylee have had to leave with JJ before. Over the years 5 times, and they've stayed in a hotel for 2 days because he goes nuts. So here they're saying 5 times. Back a couple months ago, so remember January 31st when Tylee and Lori went to the police when Charles supposedly stole her purse and wanted her to go to that, to get basically a psychological evaluation and get her admitted. Tylee and Lori said it happened 3 times. So in those 6 months between them and then, did it happen 2 more times? Because now you're saying 5 times, so it happened 2 more times after January. But it doesn't sound like they were even together at that time. So Lori said you don't know what's going to set him off. Lori stated that Tylee is mad at her for always going back. Lori mentioned that they have JJ and he's a special needs and it's really hard. I asked about what she means when she says he goes nuts. Lori said yelling and screaming, and I asked about physical violence. Lori confirmed grabbing and pushing them, but never punching them. Lori said he has gotten physical with Tylee and with her grown son. I asked physical how, and Lori stated he got in a physical fight with her son when he was 16. And you notice how she keeps saying, oh, JJ's so hard and he's special needs, and oh my God, he's so hard. Like, poor me. Well, poor JJ. I mean, look, he's the one that's going through this. I mean, it's like she just wants like a cookie or a prize for taking care of her son, a son that she adopted and agreed to take care of, but she just complains and complains like she's just like super mom. Oh my God, he's so hard, but I take care of him. I'm such a good mom. Like, ugh. Lori stated her husband went after Tylee 2 times in Hawaii, and he went like he was going to hit Tylee, but Lori got in between. Lori said Tylee was 13 and 14 at the time. I returned the conversation to this morning, and Lori said he came back in. See, you notice how she keeps trying to like build up how Charles is this violent, aggressive, horrible person because they need them to believe this whole self-defense thing. So I returned to the conversation to this morning, and Lori said he came back in and she wouldn't give him back his phone, and he was screaming at her to give him back his phone. Lori said he was very worried about whatever was on the text that he didn't want her to see. And he has every right. That's his personal phone. That's his personal text. He doesn't need to share that with her. They're not together anymore. He doesn't owe her anything. Lori said she was just holding it there and he was screaming at her. Lori said she was kind of walking around the house so he couldn't get it, and he was kind of reaching for it. Lori said Tylee came out of her room upset and she had a bat, and Tylee told him to leave her mother alone. Lori said he is screaming at Tylee, "Don't you hit me with that bat." Lori said her brother Alex heard the commotion and he came out into the main room. Lori said her husband is screaming and is super upset. Lori doesn't know if Tylee swung at him or what, but he grabbed the bat from Tylee and went to hit Tylee with the bat, and she's right there and her brother is right there, and her brother grabbed him from behind to stop him. I don't believe that he went to hit Tylee with a bat. What? So yeah, it says her brother grabbed him from behind to stop him from hitting Tylee. You notice Alex never mentioned this in his first account to the cops about him going to hit Tylee. He never says that. You don't think he would leave that out? That would have been the main thing that started it all. That would have been a big thing to leave out. He wouldn't have left that out if that really happened. Him, Charles going to try to hit Tylee, and then him, Charles going to try to hit Tylee, and then Alex stopping him. Lori is motioning with her right arm. Wait, now that I'm thinking of it, I gotta watch that again. I think, doesn't he say that he just kind of is holding the bat? He doesn't make it seem like he was gonna like swing it or anything at Tylee. I'm trying to think if he does mention him holding the bat to Tylee.
Close, and she came out to defend my sister with her bat.
Your niece?
Yes.
Okay.
And then she poked at him, and then he took it away.
Okay.
And then I stepped in and told them they needed to separate.
Right.
So then my sister leaves with my niece.
But I feel like I didn't get the impression that Alex was saying like that Charles was about to swing it at her. Lori is motioning with her right arm, and Lori said it's to grab him and pull him back. Wait, Lori is motioning with her right arm, and Lori said it's to grab him and pull him back. Lori said then her and her brother and her husband get into the thing, and he's hitting her brother with the bat, and they're on the ground like grappling around or whatever. But see, Alex only says that he hit him once in the back of the head, right? Lori said it happened quickly. I asked if her brother was struck with the bat when they were grappling, and Lori stated yes, that he was hitting her brother, and Lori is swinging her right arm downward. Lori said he is swinging the bat back and forth, and they are on the ground. Lori said she is freaking out and is trying to go around and knows JJ is in the car. Lori said her husband gets up and he has the bat towards her and is motioning with her right hand as if a person would be swinging backhanded. And he has the bat towards her and is motioning with her right hand as if a person would be swinging backhanded. Lori said she is going around the other side because she is trying to get out of his range so he couldn't hit her. Lori begins to say that she told Tylee and then explains that Tylee is on the ground because when he took the bat from Tylee, she fell back. Lori told Tylee to go get in the car with JJ because she didn't want JJ coming in, and she wanted Tylee out and didn't want the kids in the house for whatever this fight was going to be. Yeah, right. That's why she wanted her out of the house to witness the murder so she could lie to Tylee and say it was self-defense, and Tylee didn't really see what was going on. Because I have a feeling that Lori was actually there when Charles was shot. I asked what her husband or brother was yelling through all of this, and Lori stated, "Get off me," and "ow," and such, but she didn't really remember specifics. Lori stated that there weren't many words during the heat of it that she remembered. I confirmed that Tylee went outside and I asked what happened. Lori stated they got up from that and her brother stepped back, and then Charles was coming at her with a bat, yelling at her to give him his phone. Lori stated she still had the phone in her hand, and all this happened really quickly. Lori went around kind of the circle and her brother was there. I asked how Charles was holding the bat, and she motioned with her right hand as in a backhand, and she indicated he was holding it backwards with one arm. Lori explained he was holding it a way that if he swung it, he would have swung it backwards. Lori said so it was like, like that it sounds like. So that's not a very offensive, like aggressive way to hold a bat. I mean, if he was really wanting to do some damage, it would have been like, but like this, it's, I don't know. It's almost just like protecting himself and trying to probably just get his phone. Lori said she was kind of turned around, and the kids were outside, and she heard the gunshot. Okay, she was turned around, but she was in the house then? Is that what she's saying? I asked if she heard the shot, and she indicated yes. I asked if she actually saw the shot or she just heard it. Lori said she had gone around to the kitchen to get away from him and then come back around. And I advised her that I had not been inside the residence. Lori said she didn't see the shot, that she heard it, and she came back around and she saw him on the ground. So she's saying she was in the house. She was just in the kitchen, turned around when it happened, heard the shot, and then comes back into the living room and sees him on the ground. So she's saying she was in the house when it happened. But yet, Alex said she was already gone.
I stepped in and told them they needed to separate.
Right.
So then my sister leaves with my niece.
Some type of domestic?
Yeah, just this morning, then they left, and then he came at me.
They left meaning who? Both of parties?
Yeah, my sister took my niece and my nephew.
The initial time with the police when they first got there, that's what Alex said. Lori got in the car and they left. I asked about when she came back in and saw him on the ground, and asked where her brother was, and I asked if she saw him and where he was at. Lori stated her brother was right in front of Charles, and it all happened very quickly. I asked if her brother said anything to her, and Lori said no, that they were both in shock. Lori went out to check on the kids and was going to come back in maybe, but she didn't. Lori stated she was in the car for a minute and was wondering what to do, and she didn't know what to do. And JJ was in the car, and Tylee was freaking out. She decided to take him to school and away from the scene. I asked, indicating she might not know this, but I asked if she knew at what point her brother had the gun. I asked if he had it when they got in their first fight, or did he have to go get it, or if she knew that. Lori stated she didn't know. I started to ask another question, and then Lori stated she never saw him leave the room, but it was all so fast. I asked if her brother normally carried a gun. Lori stated he's a gun person, that he has guns. I asked if she knew that he had a gun with him when he came over, and Lori stated no, but that she wouldn't be surprised if he did because he's a professional with guns. Yeah, a professional with guns, my butt. I asked if at any time when Lori was trying to get away and when she heard the shot, I asked prior to that if she remembered her husband or her brother saying anything. Lori thought about it and stated no. I asked if there was anything else that I didn't ask about or we didn't cover that was important. I added that I wasn't there, and Lori sat and thought for several moments. Lori stated that he was just so angry, super scary. Yeah, right. Ugh, she's such a liar. Lori described how a 16-year-old acts when you take their phone away from them, how they disintegrate, and Lori stated that's how he was acting. Lori stated there was something on his phone that he didn't want her to see, and he was freaking out. Lori said he was freaking out to the point where she thought he would hit her in the head with a bat to get the phone. I asked if she thought it was possible that her husband would hurt her, and Lori responded, absolutely, and also Tylee. Lori stated he would never hurt JJ. Lori then added that he did hurt her brother. Lori stated he was going ballistic and it was bad. I indicated I was going to speak with Tylee, but to make sure to let me know if there was anything else. I advised her that another detective was speaking to her brother, and I asked if there was anyone that she needed to call. Lori responded that she doesn't know what she would say. I advised her that she could think about it and explained what victims services was. Lori expressed that her daughter has been through so much. We spoke about services for a moment, and I brought up JJ, and Lori commented that JJ is used to her husband not being there, but that JJ wouldn't understand if he told him. I left the interview room for a period of time. I returned to the interview room and indicated I would introduce her to the victim services and would allow me to confer with other detectives. I left the room briefly and returned, escorting her to a nearby conference area to allow her to speak with victim services without me. This concluded the interview. Victim services, my butt. She's not no freaking victim. She couldn't even give the decency to tell Charles's two sons what happened to Charles. Like, she says, oh, your dad passed away. And wouldn't even explain what happened for days. Just ignored them. She is not a victim. And then she's all smiling after it happened. You saw the police body cam after it all happened outside of her, Tylee. And I don't know if that was a neighbor, but they're asking her questions. She's smiling, joking around.
3 weeks.
Oh, geez. Yeah, okay.
That's why the neighbors don't know what's
Gotcha.
Like, hi neighbor, sorry.
And somebody could argue, well, she didn't know what was going on yet. She didn't know Charles was dead because, you know, Alex's story was they had already left. Which we know, I mean, we knew, most of us know that Lori knew what was going to happen because we think it was planned. I mean, that was a plan. They wanted to get rid of him. But now we hear her account of it, and she was there when he was shot. So you're telling me you just see your husband get shot. You're married to your husband for 14 years. You just see him get shot by your brother, and you're outside just smiling, flirting with a cop, joking around, but yet you need some victim services. You're not no freaking victim. Okay, so this is an interview with Tylee. The interview with Tylee began at approximately 10:14 hours, and I obtained some personal information from Tylee. Tylee is a 16-year-old female and appeared cooperative, calm, and understanding of the situation during my contact with her. Tylee did not appear overly emotional, and I did not notice any other issues or problems that I believed to interfere with an interview. I asked Tylee if she could tell me what had happened today and told her to start with whatever place made sense, adding that I would probably ask questions. Tylee advised that she woke up around 7:50 because she heard yelling right outside her door. Tylee said she immediately jumped. Tylee stated she has a baseball bat and explained that when she had been living at her uncle's, when she was by herself, she wanted something to feel safer, and she's not old enough for pepper spray. I explained to her that I had not been inside the house and asked about where her bedroom door opens to. Tylee explained that the room where her uncle had been staying, the guest room, is right there where her room is, and then her little brother's room, and then the kitchen. Tylee explains it's a little hallway, and then there is the area where everything kind of happened. Tylee said it's a big room where there isn't anything, but there are mirrors up. That's another thing. Why didn't they have any furniture or anything in that room? Somebody commented under the one video where I showed the body cam footage that maybe they moved everything so it didn't get blood on it because they planned it. So maybe they moved all the furniture away from, you know, out of that room so it didn't get all bloody. I don't know. It is kind of weird. There was nothing really, there was like no furniture and there was no beds, just mattresses. But they did just move 3 weeks ago. But then, where's the furniture? I could see if maybe there's boxes laying around and stuff. But it was like there wasn't any, there wasn't any furniture. I could see if it wasn't maybe like organized or the beds were kind of just not in the right place or needed to be moved or anything, but there was no furniture. It wasn't like it needed to be put in its place. There was like nothing, there was barely anything there. But it was weird though, but I mean, I guess there was maybe a few things, but there was nothing in the room where Charles got shot. So it was like, was that planned that way? Tylee said she immediately jumped up and she got the bat and she opened the door, and it was her stepdad outside the doorway and her uncle kind of in the doorway. She could hear her mom behind him. Tylee said her stepdad was screaming at both of them, but she doesn't know what he was saying. Tylee stated she told him to take a few steps back, and you're too close and you need to step back, and he told her, don't tell me what to do. Tylee said her stepdad was screaming at both of them, but she doesn't know what he was saying. She stated she told him. Is she saying that Tylee, is she saying herself, Tylee told him to take a few steps back? Or Lori told him to take a few steps back? So Tylee said she stood there and her uncle kind of moved out of the way and her mom kind of went past him and into the big room where everything happened. And she kind of walked with them. I asked if they were more in the hallway, and Tylee clarified that they were more at the end of the hallway. Tylee stated her mom walked all the way around and Tylee followed them. Tylee is describing where people are and stated she didn't really do anything with the baseball bat, that she just kind of held it there. Tylee said they were both yelling, and her stepdad tells her if she hits him with the bat, then she's going to jail. Tylee said she just kind of stood there with the bat, and I asked who was yelling when she said they were yelling. Tylee stated it was mostly her stepdad, and then she said he was really the only one yelling, and that her mom was responding. Tylee couldn't say what they were saying. Of course, I mean, her mom's got her probably so scared and so brainwashed and manipulated that she's always on her mom's side. Her mom probably trained her that way, you know, where that's just how she was her whole life. So always making her mom look like the innocent one and the one that's basically the right one, even if it's true or not. Just like how when Colby was explaining how she was the best mom ever. It's like, yeah, man, she's got you guys all manipulated to thinking that. Probably saying, oh, you know, always saying how everything she does for him. Just like how she keeps going on and on about how JJ's so hard and everything she has to do for him. She probably was constantly saying that to her own kids, making them feel like, wow, she does so much for me. Tylee said she kind of stuck the baseball bat out there and her stepdad grabbed it and tried to take it, but she held on to the end. Tylee is motioning like she held the end with both hands and that he grabbed the other end with two hands. Tylee stated eventually she fell and he took it into his hands and held it like he was going to do something with it. I asked that when she fell he ended up with a bat, and Tylee confirmed that. Tylee said she fell to the ground and then she saw her stepdad take a step back, so she thinks her uncle grabbed him and took him back so he couldn't do anything. I confirmed that she saw her stepdad take a step back, and she indicated yes, that he was really close and then went back. Tylee advised her mom told her to go with JJ, and then she ran out the door. Tylee said she stood there with her little brother. Tylee indicated he was in the front seat, so she opened the door and stood there. Tylee advised he tried to get out, and she was keeping him there. Tylee said eventually her mom came out and they left from there. I asked if she knew what happened inside the house and if her mom had explained it to her. Tylee said she heard a noise and that she knows what it was now, but she thought that it was someone taking the bat and hitting it really hard against the floor. I returned to when she talked about putting the bat out when her stepdad was coming at her mom and asked her to describe what was going on. I asked if there was a reason that she put the bat up. Tylee stated yes, that he was walking towards her mom and Tylee didn't want him to do anything, so she just stuck out the bat. Tylee described being more next to her mom and not between them. Tylee said she stuck it out to be like keep your distance kind of. I indicated that she said she didn't want him to do anything, and I asked what she thought he was going to do. Tylee stated hit her. Tylee said for the most part that it has been very mundane, but there have been a few violent times that she's been scared that he would hit her mom or her. Tylee said her and him have always kind of never got along since she was little. Tylee said there have been a few times that they have gotten into fights and she's been scared of that. I asked her about when he grabbed the bat and asked her to tell me about that again. Tylee stated she kind of stuck it out, motioning with a two-handed hold like this. I asked her about when he grabbed the bat and asked her to tell me about that again. Tylee stated she kind of stuck it out, motioning with a two-handed hold. So it looks like she's kind of was probably going like this. So it's probably like he was here, she was next to her mom, and like she was trying to, well, she said she was afraid he was going to come closer to her mom or come after her mom, so it was like she probably kind of just stuck it like in front of him so he couldn't go any further. Tylee stated he said she would go to jail if she hit him with it, and Tylee didn't really say anything. Tylee said she's holding it by the place where you would hold it, and he kind of took it, and Tylee gets lunged forward and lost her footing. Okay, so she gets lunged forward. I was picturing like falling backwards, but okay, so he pulls it, and she like lunges forward, loses her footing, and falls, I guess. Tylee indicated her mom said just let go, and Tylee said she kind of slipped and fell, kind of on her side. And after that, her mom told her to go, so she ran out the door. I asked Tylee if she saw, when she fell towards her side, did she see what he did with the bat? Tylee said no, that she wasn't really looking that direction because when she fell, the door was more in her line of direction. Tylee said she didn't look back, and I confirmed her dad was now in a different line of sight than what she was looking at. I asked about when she saw him take a step back and asked that she didn't actually see her uncle pull him back, but it seems like that's what happened. Tylee agreed and stated it didn't seem like he would have stepped back on his own, and Tylee confirmed that that made sense as to where her uncle was at the time, that her uncle was behind him and not on the other side with Tylee and her mom. I asked her about when that happened, and then her mom told her to go. Did she see what happened with her stepdad and uncle? Tylee stated no. I asked if after her mom came outside with her and her brother that she never went back inside. I don't like these sentences are kind of weird how they're written. So basically saying that he asked after her mom came outside with her and JJ that if Tylee ever went back inside. And Tylee stated after her mom came outside with her and her brother that she never went back inside. Tylee stated she went inside to get her mom's purse from inside so they would have her wallet. Wait, so she did go back inside. Tylee said she went through the garage door and went in and ran to her mom's closet. She didn't see anything or hear anything. I asked when she went inside and got her mom's purse. Tylee advised after her mom came out, and I confirmed it was after Tylee heard the loud noise, which Tylee confirmed. I asked if her mom was outside or inside when she heard the loud noise. Tylee thought for a moment, and then she stated she believed her mom was inside, but the door opened almost immediately after. I indicated to her that I obviously didn't know everyone, and I asked her to tell me about how the three of them, her mom, stepdad, and uncle, were at emotionally and how they were acting. Tylee asked when it was happening or before, and I indicated when it was happening, like when she came out of her room and he took the bat. Tylee stated his stepdad looked honestly like a crazy person, screaming, and his face was beet red. Tylee stated that she saw his face for a split second when he took the bat from her, and it didn't look like him, that he looked like pure rage, and he was seeing rage. Tylee said that was the craziest she has ever seen him. Tylee stated her uncle was kind of calm, not super calm because it was stressful. Tylee said her uncle was just kind of standing there in the doorway being protective of her mom, but wasn't saying much. Tylee said her stepdad was yelling and her mom was just kind of talking. I asked if she remembered what she was saying or what he was mad about. Tylee advised she didn't and was sorry. Tylee doesn't remember what they were really saying and that she just heard yelling. See, I just think Tylee was coached like before this to say like, oh my God, to say Charles was looking the craziest he's ever looked, and that he was in this rage just so they could not get in trouble, so they could get off on self-defense. I asked about, so what I was talking about earlier, I guess maybe that was a part of the reason that they had to get rid of her. I mean, I think there was probably more than one reason, but maybe she exaggerated how crazy Charles really was that day to help her mom, and maybe she was having second thoughts and just, you know, feeling really bad for exaggerating how it was, exaggerating basically, yeah, how crazy Charles was acting. But like I said, I think it was a mixture of that, money situation, and Lori's beliefs of thinking that the whole zombie thing, and thinking that JJ and Tylee were zombies. But like I said, I'm not sure if that's just an excuse for her crazy ways. She just hides behind her beliefs so she could, and it's really just about money and greed, and so she could not look like she's this greedy, horrible, morally horrible person, where she could hide behind her beliefs and just look like, oh, this is just because of her beliefs, and it's not because of her greed, I guess, and just her narcissistic ways. I asked about when she woke up yelling. I asked who was yelling. Tylee said she knew it was her stepdad. Tylee clarified not when she was just waking up, but that she remembered he was coming to take her brother, and she knew it was him. Tylee also advised she knew her uncle had stayed, and she knew that other person was her uncle. But if her uncle wasn't yelling, or he was just kind of quiet, not saying much, how did she hear him? She obviously knew her mom. I indicated she stepped out of her room and she took the bat with her, and asked if there was a reason that she took the bat with her. Tylee stated it was just first instinct. Tylee said she never hit him with the bat or anything, and it was for security. And in hindsight, she probably shouldn't have brought it at all because it caused for trouble. Tylee said it was right by her bed, so she jumped up and grabbed it. I asked if there was something she was concerned about, that she would have taken the bat. Tylee stated only if he would have been violent towards her or her mom. Tylee didn't plan to take it to do something. She took the bat to have something in her hands to feel safer. I asked if there was anything that we didn't talk about or I didn't ask about that she believed was important or that I should know. I indicated to her that I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss anything. Tylee stated that was pretty much it. I advised that we could talk again if she thought of anything and explained victim services, and left the interview room and returned after a period of time, escorting Tylee to her mother. And then this is just one of the officers' account of the crime scene, I guess. It says, when making these observations, I did not notice any blood in the living room. Due to the lack of furniture, there was no indication of the struggle, and nothing in the room was damaged. Based on the lividity present and lack of blood splatter, there was no indication that Vallow was moved from the position in which he was found. Additional blood was observed on the faucet in the kitchen sink. Alex Cox had reported that after the shooting, he washed his hands in the kitchen sink. I noticed a small amount of blood near the aerator portion of the faucet. The blood was photographed but not swabbed for evidence purposes. The residence had a master bedroom on the north side and 3 guest bedrooms on the south side. On the south side of the residence, I located a guest room that was pink in color and also had 2 walls that were painted with black and white stripes. This room was furthest north room on the south side of the house. The room had a mattress on the floor with a fitted sheet that was blue in color. Lying on the carpeting east of the mattress was an orange duffel bag. Inside the duffel bag was a black, hard-sided gun case with a .45 caliber magazines and ammunition. Lying on the carpeting east of the duffel bag was a brown and black Springfield XD .45 caliber handgun. After being photographed, I handled this gun with gloves in order to make it safe. While inspecting the handgun, I did not notice any visible blood or biological material present. The firearm had a magazine seated and the slide was forward. The serial number on this firearm was noted to be... I removed the magazine from the gun and noticed that the magazine indicated 5 cartridges remained inside. The magazine inside the firearm indicated that 13 cartridges could be loaded inside. I then manipulated the slide on the firearm and one .45 caliber cartridge ejected. This cartridge was secured as evidence. While at the residence, I placed a call to the Maricopa County Medical Examiner's Office. Investigator eventually responded and assisted with the investigation. During this time, Vallow's body was examined further, and he was eventually placed into a bag that was properly sealed. He was then transported to the Maricopa County Medical Examiner's Office, where an autopsy would take place. Prior to Alex returning, I made the decision to clean the large pool of blood that had formed underneath Vallow's body when his body was manipulated. So there's a bunch of stuff blacked out. It says Alex Cox was eventually brought into the residence where he explained his actions. So a bunch of stuff blacked out there. While processing the scene, I assisted detective while taking measurements of where items were located within the living room. Please see a supplemental report for further. This concluded my involvement in the case. Okay, so that's that. So you see how on his initial account, right after it happened, he says Lori was already gone when it happened. And then you hear her account, Lori's account, and she was in the house when it happened. And even Tylee said the gunshot went off before her, what she remembers, because she had to think about it. She's like, I'm pretty sure that the gunshot went out before Lori opened the door, so before she came out. But Lori herself even says she was in there. She saw Charles laying down after it happened. I just wanted to read you this. This is from Charles's lawyers or whatever. I had read it in a previous video, but it was one of my first videos. I think my first video I did on this case, but I'm going to read it again since we're talking about the incident with Charles. So yeah, it's from Ellsworth Family Law Practice. So it says Charles Vallow versus Lori N. Vallow, Mesa, Arizona. This statement is made in response to the various news articles and reports regarding filings made in the Charles Vallow and Lori Vallow dissolution of marriage case. In early 2019, Charles retained our firm to initiate divorce proceedings on his behalf against his wife, Lori Vallow. During our representation, Charles expressed a genuine fear for his life and under our advice obtained an order of protection against Lori Vallow. We are saddened to learn of his subsequent death at the hands of Lori's brother, Alex Cox. During our time representing him, it was clear that Charles loved his children, including Tylee and Joshua, very much. His main concern throughout the case was ensuring JJ was safe, cared for, and that JJ's routine was consistent due to his special needs. Charles shared that same concern for Tylee, but Tylee was from a previous marriage and not a party to the dissolution matter. We hope that the focus of this tragedy is placed on locating the whereabouts and well-being of Tylee and JJ. Okay, so that's all I have for you on this video. So it's a bunch of lies if you ask me. Poor Charles. He even had a protection order and even told people, told his sister. He knew. I mean, he even said if something happens to me, it was Lori and her brother Alex. Like, he knew how crazy she was. Nobody would listen to him. She put off this thing about his violence, so of course you have to believe if a woman's saying she's being abused. I mean, you almost have to believe her, but what about all the lies that take advantage of that? But then you can't not take it serious because, I mean, how if you get it wrong and it's really happening and you don't take it serious? So it's a pretty touchy thing there, but the sad thing is I don't believe he was abusive at all, so she took advantage of it. It's just sad for him. And the kids, of course. It's just, poor Tylee was probably so brainwashed that she believed that Charles was the wrong one, and her mom probably instigated him all the time, knew how to push his buttons, and then would make it seem like he was the crazy one to Tylee. When anybody, I mean, a person can only take so much. I'm not giving no excuse for like physical abuse, which I don't think there was any physical abuse with this. I think maybe he lost his temper, but everybody loses their temper, and I feel like Lori knew exactly what buttons to push and did it purposely to make him look crazy. Everybody has a breaking point or a point where they get angry, and that's fine. I mean, people are allowed to get angry. But when people try to do it on purpose and make you angry on purpose just to upset you, which I believe that's what she was doing to him, and then to making it look to Tylee that he was crazy and that he was the crazy one. And I feel like she had Tylee convinced that he was the crazy one, but Tylee wasn't realizing the manipulation that Lori was doing on Charles and Tylee, where she was pushing all those right buttons for Charles to make him kind of lose it and get angry sometimes, to let Tylee see that and make it seem to Tylee, basically fill Tylee's head with a bunch of thoughts about Charles being crazy, and then she sees him maybe lose his temper or kind of where when Lori pushes his buttons and he gets all mad. Tylee's seeing that mixed with all the things that I'm sure Lori was saying to Tylee about Charles. And she's just a kid, and you know, so she's very easily influenced. So mixed with seeing him angry, mixed with Lori's lies constantly in her ear about how bad Charles is and how crazy Charles is, of course Tylee's gonna think that of Charles. It's just messed up. But anyway, so I guess we'll see. So April 27th, they postponed her bond reduction to April 27th because of the coronavirus. So let's just pray that they don't reduce her bond. I mean, they really shouldn't. You know, her lawyers are going to try to use the whole recording, you know, the jail recording their visit or whatever, but I don't understand. From what I was reading, that she would have had to okay that, like I said in the other video, that it asks, I guess it says at the beginning that you're being recorded, so you accept it being recorded. So she would have had to okay the recording before they even started the conversation. That's what it made it seem like in the article, like that was how it works. So before they even start talking, it is known that it's being recorded. So how can that be accidentally? Why didn't they say, hey, listen, this shouldn't be recording. This is attorney-client privilege here, and then the jail could have turned it off. But no, they went ahead and went through with the meeting, and then only to use that against the jail and for their benefit. That's just my opinion. So I wanted to read you this. I've had this thing for this press release for a couple months now, and I kept forgetting to just add it into one of my videos real quick. But I just found it kind of interesting because, well, it's the press release update on Tammy Daybell death investigation. So it's from January 6, 2020. It says, on Friday, January 3rd, detectives from the Fremont County Sheriff's Office, who were assisted by officers from the Rexburg Police Department and the FBI, served a search warrant on the Chad Daybell residence in Fremont County. The search took most of the day, with the home being released back to Chad's sons, Seth and Garth Daybell, who are currently living in the house. As a result of the search, 43 items were removed from the residence. This included electronic devices such as computers and cell phones, journals, documents, and medications. These items will be further examined by forensic experts. It is expected that the results of the examinations will not be available for several weeks. We ask anyone who may have information that they think is relevant to this investigation to please call the Fremont County Sheriff's Office at 208-624-4482. So, hopefully they found some stuff. So not only did they exhume Tammy's body and they did an autopsy, so I don't know if you guys were aware that they did go to Chad's home and they got evidence. So they got 43 items removed. So they're going through all the electronic devices, medications, documents, cell phones, all that stuff. So now that they listed Lori and Chad as defendants in this investigation, that's a good sign. Because that means maybe they found enough evidence with all this and the autopsy that makes a good case where they could present it. I know they have to present it to the judge before to basically present all the evidence to see if they have enough for a case, and then they accept it, or they say no, I mean there's not enough there for a case to have a trial. But hopefully that they do have enough with all this stuff. So you think with this they probably found some stuff, all the electronic devices, and maybe with the medications, maybe they found something in the house, whatever they used on Tammy. The one didn't Insightful Carrie, didn't she say that it was something at the house it's still at the house that they used on Tammy? Now, I mean, that was just her opinion or her theory that she said, or that maybe somebody she watched, was it a psychic that she watched or something that said that whatever they used at the house is, or whatever they used on Tammy, there's some of that at the house. Now, that's not a fact, though. I hope don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm just saying she said something like maybe she saw it on a psychic's channel or something where they had a vision or something that whatever that they did use on Tammy, there was actually some of it still at Chad's house. So hopefully maybe they found it. It says medication. So maybe also they probably had to get that stuff so they knew what to test for the autopsy. They knew what to test for, what poison or whatever they could have given Tammy. They knew kind of what to test for on it. But anyway, guys, so hopefully you guys are all doing well and healthy and staying sane and happy and finding something to pass the time. I'm sure a lot of people have gotten creative with some of the ideas. But yeah, so that's what videos, creative ideas. Well, I mean, I want to see some of your creative ideas that you guys have came up with to pass the time and to have fun and just to, or if they're not even creative, if it's just boring stuff or just anything, it'll be interesting to us because somebody, I mean, you might think they're boring, but to other people it might be like, oh, that's a good idea. You might give other people ideas of something they could possibly do to pass their time. And plus, us watching the videos will help pass time in itself. But like I said, I'm going to think of a giveaway for you guys to send them in. So don't forget to send them in. I'm going to remind you every video to send me in your videos. Because yeah, I'm interested to see. And plus, you know, even the videos when you guys go out to stores, like what it looks like in your stores. I'm interested to see all that. Other people's lives, you know, in different states, different countries, different cities. Alright, so I'm going to end this here, guys. And like I said, hope you guys are all doing well and smiling still. It's not going crazy, not going too crazy. Being safe. Get your masks. Even if you have to make a mask out of something, you know, something's better than nothing. I'm pretty sure, like, even if it's not like the N95 ones, it's probably better than not having anything, I would think. And of course, washing our hands and sanitizer. There's different companies now making sanitizer. Like, I just saw a makeup company now is going to start making sanitizer. So that, I mean, that's a good thing. More sanitizer for people to have, plus keeping the people working. I know the wine place by our house, they're a restaurant and then they make wine there. They're making sanitizer too. So everybody's being creative and thinking of ways to help out everybody and to keep everybody working and supply people with what we need. So it's just, I feel like a lot of good is going to come out of this as far as people helping each other out and just, I don't know. I do believe everything happens for a reason, and so maybe some of these changes are for the better that will end up happening, you know, permanently. All right, guys. Well, have a good day, and my email, like I said, my email is under my it's in my description under every one of my videos. In the description, and my email is right there. So if you want to send me a video. Alright guys, have a good one. Bye.